Now, one of my favorite parts of technology is crisp, clean audio. I love the difference that music sounds when you listen to it with high quality speakers or headphones. Many of us, we don't actually get that opportunity, but if you do get to try high-end speakers in your lifetime, I can tell you, you will notice the difference. And one company that is doing sensational stuff in this area is Bowers Wilkins, and Andy Kerr is from Bowers Wilkins. He joins us from London. How are you, Andy?
Great, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Look, it's good to have a chat to you. You've got these 700 series speakers, amazing quality. As a brand, you're known for having high-end, high-quality audio. What's the main thing you need to worry about when you're making the highest quality speakers possible? What is it that you guys get up in the morning and think about?
That's a great question. Okay, so I think the hardest thing to get right in lots of ways is the cabinet itself. It's probably the bit that you might not expect. You might not think you might first off think of the drive units, but which are the bits that move, obviously, that move the air. But actually, it's the cabinet. I think the best analogy I can give you of this is a guitar or another musical instrument. The construction of that guitar really helps the sound. It's a bit like when I'm speaking right now, or when you're speaking, if you put your hand on your chest and you can feel that kind of vibration moving through the top of your chest, the sounds that you make are a combination of sound coming from here and also sound from the structure around you. And a guitar is a perfect example. You can think of loads of others, I'm sure. In a loudspeaker, we just don't want that at all. In a loudspeaker, we want, in fact, the complete reverse. The only sound we want you to hear is the sound that comes from the cones that move, and we don't want the construction that they live in to make any contribution whatsoever. And essentially, that's quite hard to do, because if you can imagine those cones moving forwards and backwards, they're making a lot of energy, and that energy or vibration has to go somewhere. And typically what it does is it goes into the box, and then the box is making sounds. And what happens is your brain detects that and goes, I'm listening to a loudspeaker. So the challenge for everybody in our world is to try and make that more believable sound, as you just described earlier on, by essentially making that loudspeaker disappear as best as we possibly can. And that's where more exotic materials, more exotic processes, heavy metals, whatever you want to talk about, come into the play to try and make that loudspeaker go completely quiet. And as a result, make it sound more like you're listening to the real performance.
It sounds very easy, but you've been working at this for a long time, and you continue to refine and refine and refine the products that you're actually bringing out to market, Andy. You've got the 705 and the 702, and they are part of these signature models that you've got. Tell me about both of those, and I want to know because you've had this series since 2017. What is it that I'm getting with these two models that I wouldn't have got if I had purchased this, even part of the same series last year, the year before?
Okay, so signature in our world stands for improved performance, first and foremost. We've only done a very few signature models over the years. We did one initially back in 1991, and essentially what that product was almost like a homage to our owner, our founder, John Bowers, who sadly passed away in 1987. And signature, the idea was, let's just put everything that we know, all the current technologies that we have, sum them all up into one kind of perfect expression of what a loudspeaker should be, which is a model called Silver Signature that came out, as I said, in 91. Since then, we've kind of, like I say, only done it 6 or 7 times. In the new models, it's a very similar principle. So we're taking the models that you described in 2017, and then we're turning everything up to 11 from the point of view of performance. So big improvements in the internals, in the what's called the crossover, essentially the brain of the loudspeaker, improved componentry all the way through, so retuning it to try and maximize the performance of the cones that are already there. And then the rest of it's down to beauty, to finish. So we already think they're a nice looking loudspeaker. What we've done here is create a completely new finish, which is very lovely, very exotic, but also very sustainable, because that's important to us too. Which it's called Dazzled Gloss. It has this kind of 9 coats of finish on it. It looks really lustrous, really shiny, very, very, very luxurious. And that kind of complements, hopefully, the quality of the sound that goes with it.
With these kinds of speakers, I mean, the world seems to be talking all about speakers all through the home, multi-room solutions, connected to your Wi-Fi network, connected to a Spotify or Apple Music. But these speakers, it's not really the story for these speakers, is it? How would I enjoy these speakers in my home, or what kind of music would I need to play on them?
Well, no one can tell you what kind of music you can play. That's down to you. You could be a rock and roller, or you could be a hip hop guy, or whatever. But in terms of quality, clearly, they're going to reward better quality signals. I think that's pretty obvious. I think the world's, it's not necessarily about one type of listening anymore. Do you know what I mean? I think you could be on the commute on the way to work, and you could be listening via headphones or in-ear headphones or something like that. You could be in the car, obviously enjoying, fingers crossed, good audio there. Watching a sound bar on a TV makes the TV suddenly sound a heck of a lot better. And as you said, you've got those distributed audio models of sound as well, whereas sound follows you around your home or lights up your whole home. I think here, this is a bit of me time. This is that kind of, I want to just reward myself for half an hour or maybe even an hour if I can find the time in my day. And I just want to sit down and actually listen to music, maybe read a book or whatever it might be. So it's, definitely different from some of the other forms of audio that you described. But I don't think it's necessarily just about being elitist or just about being an audiophile. I think that's really not where we come from. And hopefully it's not where your listeners come from either. What we want you to do is just enjoy the music experience. What I can guarantee is these are going to help you enjoy the music experience more than some of our more affordable speakers, never mind other people's brands.
Plenty of music experts have talked down about listening to streaming music solutions, so Apple Music and Spotify, because it's compressed. What format of music should I be using to connect to these speakers to get the most from them?
Okay, so we work obviously with uncompressed stuff, but lossless streaming is also available. It depends on markets, of course, but the likes of Cobars and Tidal, if they are available in your part of the world, offer very good quality services. There are others as well. I think essentially the more you put into them, for sure, the more you get out of them. What I don't ever want to get us involved in is saying, oh, you shouldn't listen to Spotify. I think a good system should be able to reward even, relatively speaking, lower quality sources of content, because ultimately the reason you buy a pair of loudspeakers is not to listen to digital file types or to think about streaming qualities. The reason you buy a pair of loudspeakers is to listen to music. That's really the point. And they won't necessarily be at their absolute best if what you want to do is throw in a low quality MP3 file. That's just the truth, because there's certainly more headroom in them. But on the other hand, if that's what you want to do and it means you're listening to music and you're enjoying it, well, who am I to say that's wrong? That's probably what a lot of people do on a daily basis. Myself, and I think a lot of the guys that I work with, we have, again, that kind of mixed model of listening. So I use Spotify to help me find new music. I use a very nice high-end record player at the other end of the scale when I want to have that me time. And then I have streaming services from other providers, and I also have ripped CDs. So as I say, I think the main point here is just enjoy yourself. Don't stress about the technical aspects of it. Just enjoy the experience of listening to an album and enjoying what that can do for you in a kind of an emotional, uplifting, whatever you want to call it, kind of state.
It's not just about playing loud music, though, is it? I mean, these speakers,
No,
they really just present the best of what you're listening to.
It's a really interesting point you mentioned that, because I do think people sometimes perhaps misconstrue that, that it's just about pinning yourself to the back wall with volume at, up to 11, and it really isn't. I think essentially the more revealing a system can be, the more transparent it can be, the more you can pick up other things. You can pick up the nuances, the skill, the technical ability of the guitarist, or the specific phrasing or vocal intonation of a certain singer. I think one of the things we talk about a hell of a lot, and again, some of you guys may never even have experienced it, is a thing called the soundstage, the image, as it's also known. So what a stereo system, when it's set up correctly, does is the speakers essentially just disappear, and what you're left with is a picture or an image of the performers on the stage or in the recording studio in front of you. And that can be incredibly exciting and involving, and takes listening to music from being just something that you do to something that you experience, if you see what I mean. So you're much more connected and involved with what's going on, because you can visualize the performers, you can visualize the environment, and you can visualize those people performing back to you.
Are these speakers, are they an investment for life?
Do you know what? I really think they are. I mean, one of the things we find is a lot of our speakers get used for a long period of time. They tend to last. They also tend to retain value, which is interesting as well. So, I mean, we find customers have had speakers for 20, 25 years, bringing them back to us, asking us to refurbish them and kind of get them back on the road again. So yeah, I think if you buy something that really makes a difference to your day, you're probably going to use it more. You're probably going to value it more. You probably want to keep it more. I think we've kind of got used to a world where a lot of consumer goods, especially consumer electronics, become redundant really quite quickly. I mean, a perfect example would be phones, but there are lots of other examples. That HD TV that you bought, 8-9 years ago is, theoretically completely out of date in the modern world of 4K and coming 8K and all that kind of stuff. But speakers tend to last, and they don't radically change. I think, as I mentioned earlier on in the conversation, the way the speakers work now is broadly similar to the way they work for a period of time. So if they're done right, they should last you the rest of your life, no problem.
Well, they are, in my view, the perfect addition to any lockdown experience. These Bowers and Wilkins speakers, there's the 702 Signature. They're $8,500 a pair at the moment, available month of July here in Australia. And the 705 Signature, which is just under $5,000 a pair, available July as well. Always good to have a chat about the latest in audio technology. Andy Kerr from Bowers and Wilkins, thanks for having a chat to us on the show today.
You're very welcome. See you soon, I hope.